Good evening, viewers, and welcome again to Discovering Truth. And I am Pastor Forbes from Abiding Word Ministries, The Gateway. Next week, we're going to start looking at the journey of our Lord Jesus Christ from Palm Sunday to Easter Day, with all the celebrations that always accompany that. So I will keep that for next week. But tonight I want to finish the second part and the final part of what I started discussing with you on last week concerning how we exercise our vote, what our vote is, and why we have used that method of getting people into leadership and authority to bring forth our hopes and our aspirations. I'm doing this, of course, because 2 days from today, Thursday the 6th of April, the Gambia, my country, and you and I, we are going to the polls to elect and choose National Assembly members that will make up the legislative arm of the government. A couple of months ago, we successfully did the executive. I believe the judiciary is putting itself together, irrespective of the challenges they seem to be going through. And we are now going to bring forth the third arm of the three-part government structure, which is the legislature. So last week I started talking about the importance of voting and what it means to us all, and I want to continue. But let me also say that for Easter weekend, from Thursday the 13th, Friday and Saturday till Sunday, of course, we have our annual Easter conference. And it's an interesting one because the topic this year is how to stop and arrest all hemorrhages in our lives. A hemorrhage is a bleed that comes from a burst blood vessel, and if not handled well, of course, it could kill you. And some you can know, and some are hidden, especially with internal organs and trauma. And if not clipped and stopped, we could lose our lives. Hemorrhaging is not just physical. I remember early last year, to mid last year, I was having a discussion with somebody who was in the know concerning the finances of our country and all that, and he basically said to me that the hemorrhage is everywhere, because every sector of our national life that you touched was bleeding, and so you had to clip it all. And no wonder now that a lot is being uncovered, we can really tell that the hemorrhage was bad. Thank God we didn't die, the nation didn't die. Repair is coming upon us, and I'm sure we are going to be a lot better. And so that will be our topic for our Easter conference. The conference is called In His Image, IHI, and it's Thursday the 13th, Friday the 14th, that's Good Friday, Saturday the 15th, culminating on Easter Day the 16th. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, of course, it's in the evening at 6:30, 6:30 at our premises there, the Gateway in Bakau, Newtown. And so to continue our discussion, I want to just throw a couple of ideas at us this evening. And I just want to start and literally speak from my heart. The first thing I want to say is that it is said that nobody can stop a moving train. When something starts as a movement and as a momentum, it's ready to move. And because of the nature of my work, when you are able to, by the grace and mercy of God, discern that there is a spiritual dimension to some kinds of movements, then what you want to do is to position yourself, angle yourself, and just be there. Sometimes there are things in life that make people look very good and very beautified, but in themselves maybe they are not. It's just that, as we say in English, they crossed the bridge at the right time. They were just there when it was about happening. And so all the goodwill of that time and that season and the purpose for it swept them across. I believe God Almighty has started a great movement for our nation, and I want to say categorically clear, it's not just a political movement. It's going to change a lot of things with our nation. It's going to end up in a total spiritual rebirth of our nation and a great revival of true godliness and of true prosperity. There are a lot of things that we are probably alarmed about because we have seen them and they are being unraveled about minerals under the ground and CBG finances and all that. But the truth is that you can never take all there is. And whatever you take, there is a lot more. And let me tell you, I don't really have it right here, but there is a scripture in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, and you can Google it. It says, wealth that is gotten illegally always diminishes. Whatever you do, no matter how great you want to plan it, it just fizzles. It's like God puts holes in your pockets. You might do a very great investment on Monday and Tuesday something collapses and it's gone, because God does not allow people to cheat others. And that's why we always say what is not yours will never be yours. And so it's a God movement that has started, and in that movement, God by his Spirit is gingering people, is opening our eyes to certainly see that, yes, two critical things. Number one, our vote is ours. Our choices are ours. And so we have seen from December 1 to now that we have the ability. It's as if we were in slumber. We always had the ability, and every grouping of people, especially nations that have opted out for representative democracy, and which is the greater bulk of civilized nations, the power resides with the people. The sovereignty of that nation resides with the people. So we choose to vote in and we choose to vote out. So what we vote in is what we chose. Who we vote in is who we chose. And if we are going to complain, we have to make sure we vote properly so we stop complaining. If we're going to rejoice, we also have to make sure we choose properly so that we rejoice. Because the leaders we have, be they presidents, be they legislative people, or any kinds of offices that are voted by people, and the majority, depending on the structure, 2/3, 50+1, second round, or whatever, simple majority, whoever gets it, got it because people voted. That is one important reason why people must always vote. Voter apathy does not absolve you from the consequences of voter apathy. So if I am angry and I do not vote, and I say I'm not voting because the people who are there do not speak for me, when they make decisions, the decisions that they make will affect me, whether I believed in them, whether I liked them, whether I supported them or not. Which also means that as we vote, there are lots of things that must be in our mind. But 2 or 3 key must be that we must be able to vote conscience. Number 2, we must be able to vote beyond tribalism. It must be really sad, because if you vote tribalism, then you are voting a recipe for disenchantment, for division, for chaos, short term or long term, as we can see. Now, if I belong to the tribe of the president that was ousted from power, I will feel funny, because the truth is that what I saw did not help other tribes. Now, if that was a problem, and it sure was, it should be a reminder that now that we are voting again, we should not make the same mistakes, because making the same mistakes would give us the same results. We must vote beyond religion, vote beyond gender, vote beyond the simplicities of life. You know, as you listen to our radio stations, there's a whole lot of political education, civic education going on, because the days of an intending MP or National Assembly member telling you, I will build a hotel, I'll build schools in the water, I will build this and that, they are gone. And as I also keep saying that, we must rise beyond milling machines. We must rise beyond tractors. For 22 years we had tractors. Where are they? But it's me, my vote, that marble that I go to throw. If I am voting milling machine, if I'm voting borehole, those things are not even responsibilities of National Assembly members. Those things lie so much with the executive, with the proper and judicious using of taxes, and also with the municipal councils. If I am voting for somebody who says I'm going to bring electricity to the village, he doesn't have, or she doesn't have, that ability. So we must understand, we must educate ourselves. We must understand that the sovereignty resides with us, and initially as well as ultimately, we the voters are responsible. In under 48 hours, we will be voting. 2 days from now, probably the polls will be closing, and we'll be waiting. And no magic is going to happen. If you don't vote, your ballot will not be counted. And if you reside in a place where the difference was 1 vote, you probably are going to be the one responsible for the next 5 years, especially if things do not turn out the way you want them to turn out. So we do not also vote emotions. Generally in life, you are counseled, we are taught and educated that you do not make especially major life-changing decisions when you are either very happy or when you are emotional, you are crying and all that, because those emotions sometimes tend to cloud sanity and judgment because you're just over the moon or you're totally depressed. So we must not also allow short memory, temporary amnesia. We've suddenly forgotten the past and forgotten how we suffered. All these things are not good helpers as we vote. A lot of people till today in Africa are hankering for reparations, not just for slavery, but for slave trade. And as has been amply explained, those 2 words, slave trade, mean that there was some kind of a transaction. Anything that has trade in it means that there is a transaction. That means I am bringing something and I'm exchanging it I'm exchanging it for something else. And what I am getting in exchange for what I'm giving is a function of how I value what I am giving. So if maybe I am thirsty, I'm really thirsty, or so I believe. I mean, I've not gone without water for, let's say, 5 days. Maybe it's just 2 hours. But I'm very thirsty, and I'm holding my laptop on my hand. And somebody has a bottle of water that probably costs $25, say 18 or 50 or how much it costs. And I say to that person that I am thirsty, I really want water. And the person says, well, I can give you this water, or I can sell it to you, but I want your iPad. Now this iPad Air is $1,000. The bottle of water is about $25. If at that point I transact that business, I have sold my iPad Air for $1,000, which is about $48,000. See, and how many bottles of water could I buy? I could even start a retail, but it's a trade. So I will go away feeling that I've quenched my thirst and drank 300 mils of water, 30 centiliters, a bottle of Coke or so, and it's all over. And this person can go and do a lot. It's a trade. Now I know there are commissions globally for unfair trading and all that, but no commission can tell you more than you want, because you have the power of choice. You have the power of choice. So we have to educate ourselves with the power of choice. The second thing about it is that, as I said last week, because our National Assembly lifespan, the tenure is 5 years, when I throw that marble in that drum, I have substitutionarily given my hopes, my aspirations, my franchise, my will for the next 5 years. Now, except in a case where maybe my National Assembly member dies or, gets into some legal problem and goes to jail or something, whereby there has to be a by-election, I'm stuck for 5 years. And even if there is a by-election, if I have not changed how I think, I will keep voting the same way. Because sometimes we become creatures of habit. We vote T-shirts, we vote slogans, we vote colors, we vote drumming, we vote yaikompin, we vote very strange things. And after 5 years, nothing happens. And people promise us things that they will never be able to deliver in their own lifetime. But we vote. It means we are not taking voting seriously, and it means we must do more of political voter civic education across the board, and even bring it in our academic curricula from primary school. Let people understand what it is. The other thing is that in a very extreme sense, when you do not vote right and conscience, sometimes you can bring untold suffering to yourself. You know, I'm glad we are like a week away from the Easter weekend. For those of you who are familiar with the scriptures, you will know this. For those of you who are not, the Gospels start with Matthew, then Mark, Luke, John. These are the names of 4 disciples who gave the encounter of Jesus, their perspective of Jesus' life when he walked on the earth and did his ministry. And in Matthew's account in chapter 27, from verse 15 all the way down to about, I think, 26, when Pilate, the governor of that time, said that, look, Jesus is innocent. The charges that you are saying he is guilty of, he's not guilty of. These are not treasonable charges. Apart from that, Pilate was married to a woman who had been gifted with dreams. You know, people who just dream and the dream is real and it's going to come to pass. So she sent a message to him that morning and said, look, do not touch this case because I dreamt last night this man is innocent. If you touch him, you are touching innocent blood. And of course, we all know that because Jesus Christ was and is still Savior and Messiah. And when Pilate brought this thing to the people, they made a very strange statement, and you can read that in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 27, I believe it's verse 25. They made a statement no person should ever make. This is what they said: let Jesus' blood be upon us and upon our children. They were so emotional, so angry, they decided, well, this man who was a known criminal called Barabbas, let him be released, because the Pharisees were going around telling people, vote for Barabbas, vote for Barabbas. Just like people do. They can go from house to house, tell you vote for this. In those days, they will buy your voters' cards, give you a bag of rice, give you promises, and you keep hearing about power tillers and electricity poles and telephone poles and all these things. And they were going around telling the people, vote for Barabbas, vote for Barabbas. What about Jesus? Let Jesus be crucified. Let him be crucified. So when Pilate came out openly and said, you have a choice. This criminal Barabbas is known. His tenure has been difficult, painful. You have lost property in your homes. You have lost people. You have lost loved ones. This man is a criminal. That's why he is in jail. That's why he is where he is. On the other hand, this is Jesus of Nazareth. He has done nothing. But because people had gone around telling people, Bulensani katapul ki jolala, ki akula, ki gurmetla, ki lila, that kind of attitude, ki jigenla. They were saying those kinds of things. And they were so worked up and manipulated. That's the word, manipulated. And when Pilate asked them, what should I do with Jesus? They shouted, crucify him. And he said, look, this man is innocent. They said, it doesn't matter. Let his blood be upon us and upon our children. So by that saying, they pronounced a curse upon themselves. They pronounced a curse upon the next generation. So in the extreme sense, that is how dangerous voting can be. You see black and you call it white and you vote for it. And then you wonder, why am I getting the results of black? And the truth about your franchise is that, I can come to you and tell you, Bulsani Katapuli, Pulki, don't do this, don't do that. But when I go into the ballot box, you don't even know who I am going to throw my marble for. You don't even know whether I'm going to vote. So your vote must be sacred, must be conscience-based. And I believe that the movement that I know God really brought us into, because as I keep saying, we are not the only country that has had problems. We are not the only country with coalition. There are countries that are going through what we went through. And the world is just not even batting an eye. People are being killed and, telecommunications is being shut down. People are being slaughtered. And the world is not watching. And we were just less than 2 million. And the whole world watched. It was not the world. It was just God's goodness upon us. So let's not reverse that process by suddenly thinking that I am Mandinka, I am Fula, I am Aku, I am this, I am that, because that will not help. And so these people said that, and believe me, as they said it, so it happened to them. So their children must have been wondering, why are we suffering? It's because their fathers visited them with the wrong voting that they did. The other thing about voting, if I look at it from the biblical perspective, after Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus Christ, hung himself on a tree, committed suicide, the apostles came together and felt they had to choose somebody else. And they chose another man. They cast lots, they chose him. But you won't hear about his name in the Bible from the day he was chosen. Nothing else happened because he was really not the right choice. And so you are hearing the people campaign. We are hearing them on TV. We are hearing them on the radios. We are seeing their caravan road shows where people are doing house to house. You know your constituency. I know my constituency. You know the demographics of it. And you know the role of the National Assembly, what they're supposed to do. So you listen and you can tell who to vote for because it's your constituency. And so when they voted for that one man, indeed, he became the 12th, but in God's mind, there was another man who was far away removed from them. His name was Saul, who later became Paul. He literally filled that position. And much as this may be spiritual, the spiritual is more real than the physical. So God is interested in what we do. But there was another time when they were praying, and then God said, this is the person that must be chosen. And when this person, two people were chosen, they moved on and they served. And at a particular point in time, there was a little bit of a disconnect, some chaotic scenario for them in their system. And they split. But one team just went on their own. And in the Bible, it's recorded that the other team went as blessed by the group. And so we don't want backyard National Assembly members, people who jumped the wall. And even those who are going to be nominated. I believe we have all as a nation seen what a rubber stamp assembly can be like. So even if those who are going to be nominated, assuming we have a balance in the House, I do not think it's really going to be judicious for us to say, well, we are going to let all the 5 or 4 or 6 nominated by the prerogative of His Excellency the President, let them all come from this party that I support or that I belong to. Because we may just be going back, and we do not want to do that. But ladies and gentlemen, if you and I listen carefully and vote our conscience, I suspect that we are going to have a surprise from Thursday into Friday. I believe we are probably going to see a David and Goliath situation. That's my hunch. We're going to see the underdogs suddenly rising up because it's we, the people, that will vote. And as I've said, ladies and gentlemen, life is like that. We all went to school and you always had that boy or that girl that would always crack a lot of jokes, play football, prank around, do all kinds of jestings, and we'll all laugh, and then you'll go home, you'll be tired, and you'll sleep. And when the exam results came out, that boy or girl was at the top, and you were in the middle. Because after all their jesting, they went to study, and you laughed so hard that you were tired and you slept. So you must be careful about it when people try to manipulate you and motivate you and tell you, do this, do that. God gave you the power of choice. God gave us a guiding conscience, and God gave us free will. And so even for the greater bulk of our nation who maybe do not understand the entire system, I believe there are different levels of political education that go into the grassroots, as we saw. Because for the change that happened on December 1st into 2nd, we can't say it's just a Gambian intelligentsia that voted. The diaspora people did not vote. It is the people who were registered before the deadline who voted. And they included all kinds of people, military personnel, security forces, all kinds of people. and we did what is still today being touted as a miracle, because I believe God did it for us. Miracles come in convoys. That was miracle 1. Miracle 2 will come this Thursday, but we'll have to participate in it, because, ladies and gentlemen, the global goodwill that we have, all the things that have happened to our nation, people were shocked that the ex-Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Tony Blair, was here over the weekend. It's like, wow, how many people have been here in the space of 2 months? Whatever the agenda, there's goodwill somewhere. But as it is always said, I believe in one West African nation, one of their local languages, they say nobody cries at the funeral of bereaved people more than the bereaved. I can't help you more than you can help yourself. If you do not desire change, I can breathe change into you, you won't change. Or, as we also say in English, you can literally force the horse to the brook, but you cannot force the horse to drink the water. Come Thursday, it's our choice. And every choice, ladies and gentlemen, has its consequences. So let's listen well, let's ask questions, let's know the Constitution. Those who can explain in the local languages, that's our job. Let's weigh the options. It's 5 years. And things have to be ratified. We have cried about how the Constitution was butchered and disrespected and cast aside. We lived for 22 years by executive orders, except where ministers were to be hired or fired, or public holidays. Then we had the GCMRG and all that. Then we had the Section 71 and Section 71. Now we want to really run properly. Let's vote future forward, because that's what we have chosen. Because really, on a final note, my dear friends, you are not voting for an MP. You are not voting for a National Assembly person. You are voting for the future of Gambia, your children and my children. I believe we are on the cusp of very great things. Let us not shut it down. Let's rather open it more, so it will be a win-win for all of us, and be a lesson to those who had the opportunity before now to do so much good and did not do it. Until I come your way next week, by the grace of God, I'm sure we will all vote our conscience, and I'm sure God will grant us peace to vote. The excitement will be there, and we will all rejoice for Gambia, an established executive, an established judiciary, an established legislature, the press, civil society, religious groupings, private sector, everybody will all begin to move. And when that is over, then we should put that behind us and now remember our Ligay Jotna and work hard for the prosperity of our country. Happy voting to all of us, and I wish every candidate well, and I'm sure those who win will be magnanimous to those who lose, and those who lose will be magnanimous to those who win, and Gambia will win. Let me wish all of us a happy Easter ahead of time. Next week we are coming to that, and let me invite us all to Abiding Word Ministries, our Easter Conference in His Image 2017, stopping and arresting all the hemorrhages in our lives. Thursday 13th to Sunday 16th, 6 p.m. every evening. God bless you and have a good night.